Only She Came Back is such an interesting, like, true crime kind of book. Because it's not about an actual true crime, it's a fictional story, but we follow this young woman who is bisexual, who is dealing with the loss of a relationship and kind of the failure of being a true crime content creator. She's a podcast, but she's a content creator on true crime. And she's super obsessed with true crime. When one of her ex-classmates returns from a camping trip, but her boyfriend is nowhere to be seen. And so there's a lot of like about the press and whatnot, about people trying to uncover what happened. And a lot of like placing the guilt on her, on placing that it's her fault that this happened. She wants to find out more about it. Not only because she's also lived her own case of domestic abuse in her own household, but also because she felt control by getting into the true crime. And so she wants something to attach herself as she kind of lives through this like weird episode of her life where she's trying to rebuild herself after falling into addiction, which is super fascinating and interesting. Because we can also consider like addiction like an abusive relationship in an aspect. So anyway, she meets her ex-classmate, and her ex-classmate tells her the story of how she fell in love with her boyfriend, and she's slowly putting together that this was a very bad case of abusive relationship. But Only She Came Back has so many twists and turns that you have these moments where you think you know who the bad guy is, and then they turn out to not be a red herring. And red herrings show up in very constructive ways. And it is a lot about what is the perfect survivor, what is how medium and like YouTube and like that kind of format shows an idealistic point of life that isn't true. It's also about how people like true crime content creator ends up kind of destroying their own credibility and ends up harming the people they're trying to help, and also how they can just like, it's super fascinating and interesting. Highly recommend it. I do not, there are some like parallels to actual crimes that I do not like, but there's other aspects like the fact that her boyfriend is such a like very much a almost a parody of a lot of people in the manosphere, where they have this whole ideology that, like, to be healthy, you have to do this and this and this. But then you meet them in the real world or their real life outside of, like, them making social media thing. They're just telling lies. They're selling lies to their audience. And it's super fascinating and interesting.